It is the ninth episode, and I know this for sure this time because I actually checked before I hit record this time, of the Running My Mouth podcast. I am your 24-year-old host, Aaron, and allow me to run my mouth for a little while. As I just said, if you're watching this, I am officially 24 years old. Hold for applause. Please clap. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Big achievement for me to continue to live for another year. Not like that was an option or anything. I wasn't gonna stop. You know what? I just made it weird. Let's not do that. But I was originally planning on recording this on Thursday. It's currently Sunday, the 3rd. Yeah, the 3rd. My birthday was yesterday. And I was going to do a whole little intro being like, if you're watching this, it means I'm 24 years old, which is still technically true. If you are watching this, it means I'm 24. But like, I wasn't, going to be 23 when I was recording it. So anyways, my birthday was yesterday, September 2nd. I am, of course, a Virgo baddie, just like all the other Virgo and September birthday baddies, because end of September, I forgot what that makes you, a Libra? I don't know. I don't be keeping up with astrology like that. I don't really believe in it in earnest. But if you know someone who's born in September, I mean, obviously you know that they are probably the best person in your friend group. So, the proof is in the footages. Look at the material. You can be the judge. September birthdays. Shout out to all of us. We are all so amazing. Big ups to us. But yeah, yesterday was my birthday. I actually have a lot to talk about today because for the last couple of weeks, I've been doing stuff. I've been having a good couple of weeks. I'll say that much. But we'll start off with my birthday since that one's the freshest on my mind. So I don't typically do big stuff for my birthday. I don't have big parties. I mean, I made a whole YouTube video on my main channel about why I don't do big parties because I tried for my 16th birthday and it didn't work out like I wanted it to. So I just stopped. So yeah, yesterday was pretty low key. It was a pretty typical Saturday. Woke up, had to mentally recover from paying my rent the previous day. My mom traveled here to be with me for my birthday, which was pretty nice. She was originally planning on being in Miami with all the other Jackson State people to do football stuff, I guess. I swear, my mom didn't used to be this into football, but I don't know, ever since I left the house, she's about the football now. So, I mean, good for her, I guess, but it feels new to me. Maybe it's not new to her, but it certainly feels new to me. So, because she's here with me and not in Miami, she can't watch the big game. Because, I guess that game always falls on Labor Day weekend, which my birthday not always, but usually falls on Labor Day weekend as well. But, yeah, tomorrow's Labor Day. That's fun. Labor Day has zero significance to me other than being, yet another 3-day weekend and also usually being around my birthday. But, as far as the birthday celebrations that I had yesterday, didn't really do a whole lot. I went to the Mississippi Museum of Art, which, as far as birthday activities go, may be a little boring for some. But hey, what can I say? This might be a controversial opinion, but I'm gonna say it anyways. I think art is cool. I know. Don't get your pitchforks out too fast, but I've always been an artsy fartsy person, and I like going to museums. And I actually haven't been to the museum here in Jackson at all. I went one time for a wedding because sometimes they have weddings in there, but I never actually went through any of the exhibits or anything like that. So I thought, it's my birthday, it's my day. So what better day to do that than yesterday? So we went through, tried my best to look at everything. The Mississippi Museum of Art isn't that big. It is just one story, and then they have kind of a permanent collection, and they have a rotating collection, and it's just one floor, and there's also an outdoor area that has some art installations, but we didn't really look at that. And so again, tried my best to look at everything. All of the art was really nice. There were some, I don't want to be mean, but those paintings or drawings or whatever that people make and kind of put online being like, this is the mind of a schizophrenic, that kind of stuff, which honestly, I really hate it when people do that. It's so lame, and just like, come up with something else, come up with something new. Like 9 times out of 10, the person who made it has no real mental health issues aside from being a little sad sometimes. But there's definitely some of that stuff. Honestly, I do kind of like art like that. As you know, from an artistic perspective, it is pretty cool. Or from a, people love to just use mental illness and art as like a, I don't know, clickbait, I guess. I don't even know what you would call it, but it's mad annoying when people do that. So if you're watching and you do that, maybe stop. That's not great. But there's some of that kind of stuff. There was, okay, so I'm not, I used to, not even I used to, I don't really know. I'm not in the art scene. Let me put it that way. I'm not in the art scene aside from, taking art classes in school and stuff like that, and knowing and recognizing some, pretty prominent artists. I didn't really recognize most of the works that were in there. There was one Georgia O'Keeffe painting, which I was so surprised to see. I can't I can't remember which one it was. It wasn't a flower one. It was like a tree or something. So I was very surprised to see that. I'm trying to think. Of course, I mean, being that we are in Jackson, there were quite a few Eudora Welty photographs, which I was for, she was primarily a writer, but she also had a very short stint as a photographer in the mid and post Depression era. And so I do kind of have an anecdote about Eudora Welty photographs, which I told my mom about it as we were walking through and looking at some of them. So I don't know how to like explain this without like doxing where I used to work, but where I used to work, they were in the process of opening up a school, which they ended up opening up the school, but it's a whole long story. I'm not going to get into it, but in the process of trying to open up a school, they were trying to look for a building to put the school in, because even though they were kind of down to the wire, they still didn't have like an actual physical school building, even though they had like however many acres of land up in the middle of nowhere, like which, okay, that might have been too much. I might have to edit that out. Up in the middle of nowhere around here in this area, they did not have the funds to build a school there, because who knew it took money to build a school, you guys? Oh my goodness. Like, whoa, who knew it took planning and thought and deliberation and effort to make a school? Who knew that? Anyways, they were looking at some building to house a school in, and I'm not really sure. I guess it used to hold some kind of officers or something. I really don't know the details to even tell you guys, but in looking at that, I think they were getting close to negotiations of actually buying the building, and they were able to get some furniture out of the building. That's what it was. They were able to get some furniture out of the building, whether they were buying it or not. Unclear. I mean, the school is open and it's not in that building, so that should tell you what happened. But in, clearing out this building and giving away this furniture to my former employer, they were able to obtain for, I mean, basically free. I don't think they paid for them. Some original, like 2 or 3 original Eudora Welty photographs, and they're real because they have each one of her pictures is like it's numbered, so it's like something out of, I think, maybe 70 or something like that. Basically, each of the prints of her pictures is numbered, and it was a legitimate, like, genuine Eudora Welty picture. Which, I mean, Eudora Welty, she's bigger around here in the Jackson area, and I guess in Mississippi. Not necessarily. Listen, I mean, again, I'm not really like super into like art in to be able to know this for any amount of certainty, but I mean, who's a famous photographer? See, I can't even name any famous photographers. Oh gosh, Annie Leibovitz. It's not like it's an original Annie Leibovitz or anything like that, which, I mean, anyways, but still, I thought it's a pretty big deal that they were able to obtain, I want to say, 2 or 3 original Eudora Welty photographs, and now they just have them probably sitting in a closet somewhere, which I think, and yet another hot take, but I think art is meant to be looked at, not meant to be, stowed away. which I get that even, museums with large permanent collections physically cannot, you know, display every single work that they have because they literally don't have the square footage or the wall space to do so. But still, the fact that they were able to get those pictures and like to have them rubs me the wrong way. I don't know. I don't know if it's because I just really didn't like working there or what, but that's my little anecdote about that. Yeah, aside from Georgia O'Keeffe and Eudora Welty, there weren't really a whole lot of names that I recognized, but I still liked the majority of stuff that was there. It really made you think. I love it. I love it when a picture makes my brain cells go boom. So, honestly, I do want to go back to the art museum because in November they're going to have a freaking Picasso exhibit, and it's Pablo Picasso. Like, hello, like, come on. Even me, casual art enjoyer, knows that Picasso, pretty big deal. Pretty big. Oh gosh, mouth. Pretty big deal. But I would say if I had to like pick, a type or an era of art that I would like to see the most in person, I would say probably, anything by like 16th century. Would that be correct? 16th century or 17th century? 1600s to 1700s. Dutch and Flemish painters. I've always like really been kind of enamored by that whole genre of works, but especially by Vermeer. I saw the movie Vermeer, not when it came out, 'cause it came out in like 2005 and I would have been 5 years old. But I saw it, I don't know, on Netflix or something. No, I saw it first because I was at home and it was playing on one of like the premium cable channels, and I'm like, they made a movie about Johannes Vermeer. That's interesting. I believe it's called Girl in the Pearl Earring, and it's about like Vermeer's like muse, played by Scarlett Johansson, and I forgot who plays Vermeer, but he's like a famous like hot guy actor. And so I ended up watching it, and it's not that good of a movie, guys. I have to be honest, it's not that good of a movie. But I will say this, visually it is stunning because each scene of the film is like framed and lit like a Vermeer painting, which I have to appreciate, even though the movie itself was just kind of boring and not super exciting. So yeah, I would say watch Vermeer. You can watch Vermeer muted, or it's not even called Vermeer. At least I don't think it's called Vermeer. I believe it's called Girl with Pearl Earring. You can watch that movie on mute and just, enjoy the visuals. Yeah. Oh no, it actually came out in 2003, so I would have been even younger when it came out. So yeah, it's got okay, this says 2003. This says 2004. It came out in the early 2000s. And it stars Scarlett Johansson, and I'm trying to figure out who else is in it. Colin Firth. Is he a famous hot guy actor, actually? I don't know about that. That's probably up to personal taste. Do you think Colin Firth is hot? Let me know in the comments. Call in, we're standing by. Is Colin, is Colin Firth hot or not? Okay. To somebody. Speaking of September birthdays, I'm looking at his Wikipedia right now. His birthday is September 10th. Shout out to the September birthdays. Is Scarlett Johansson born in September too? No, she's born in November. Wow, serendipitous. Anyways, so that was my trip to the museum. It was pretty nice. Later that evening, my mom had texted me. I want to say like last week or something like that, because I hadn't really made any like solid plans for my birthday because I legitimately just didn't know what I wanted to do. Be like, oh, we're gonna go to a fancy restaurant. And I'm like, I didn't really respond because I don't know. These fancy restaurants don't really, not that they don't appeal to me. It's just that I don't know. They're just kind of okay. Like I'm not, someone who's on my head to go to like a fancy restaurant. A restaurant with good food, yes, but not all fancy restaurants have good food, let me tell you. And so I went to this one that's in like a bougie little new development shopping center around here where all of the menu items are like over $15. Actually over $20, aside from like the appetizers and stuff like that. And I got pan-seared redfish because I didn't want to, it was a steak place, and I don't know if I didn't want to eat a steak at that hour. So I got pan-seared fish instead. The fish was fine. It came with broccoli, and for I want to say that dish was like $32. For $32, I want roasted broccoli. I don't want it steamed. I don't want it the worst way that you can make a vegetable, okay? Like, I don't know if it's more cost effective or if it's faster or something like that, because I will say our food did come out pretty fast, especially considering the restaurant was moderately packed. I'll say that. The food came out really fast, the service was fine. But for $32, I want a little salt and pepper on my vegetables. Like, there was nothing on it was plain steamed broccoli. Just appalling. For that price, a little appalling. And steamed, like, okay, whatever. You can steam a vegetable if you want, but put some seasoning on there. Put some flavor on there, please. Like, that's the reason why most people don't like vegetables, is because they never had it prepared the correct way. The only correct way, okay, I won't say the only correct way. There's probably a lot of correct ways to make broccoli. But my preferred way to make broccoli is to roast it, because, it retains, well, first of all, not only roasting it, but putting a little salt and pepper on it. Like, that's the bare minimum that you have to do. Olive oil, salt and pepper in the oven, 420 minutes. Literally so easy. If you want to eat more vegetables and you don't know how, or you just don't know how, I guess, olive oil, salt and pepper, 420 minutes. You can do that with basically any vegetable and it'll come out so delicious. Like, you can switch up your oils a little bit, because my little secret, my little life hack for cooking broccoli is to use toasted sesame oil, because it has kind of a different flavor to it than like plain olive oil. And it turns out fantastically. So, toasted sesame oil, salt and pepper, 400 degrees in the oven, 20 minutes. You're looking at a delicious batch of roasted vegetables. I did not get that at that very expensive, very dark restaurant yesterday, which was a little bit disappointing. I'm not gonna lie, but the experience, I guess, was nice. I don't know. I don't know if I would ever go back there, because I certainly wasn't paying for it, because number one, I'm the birthday girl, and the birthday girl doesn't pay for anything, okay? And, again, it was really expensive for what I got, which was kind of mid. Like, I gotta admit, it was a little mid. I hate to say it to him, but sorry, it was a teeny weeny bit mid. At least roast the vegetables next time. Like, come on, guys. I mean, I guess their main thing, being that it is a, steak restaurant, was the steak, and I didn't get the steak at the steak place. Oopsie daisy. Maybe my fault on that. Maybe their steak is great. Maybe it's great, but it's also $40. And, even though I wasn't paying for it, I wasn't about to make my mom pay $40 for food. It just wasn't about to be something that I was going to do. Even if it was the birthday and I was the birthday girl and the birthday girl doesn't pay for anything, I wasn't about to make somebody else pay $40 for like a steak. That wasn't, it would make me feel a little bit bad. I'm not going to lie. So that was my birthday experience. And it went pretty well. I will say, I was still kind of thinking about, we'll always be talking about my birthday last year, because it was just so much fun. And I didn't really ask for anything for my birthday, because, I mean, maybe, I don't think it's necessarily because I am 24 now, hold for applause. But also I don't really want things like that anymore, because like I work full time now. I make full time money. And if I want something, then I can just buy it. Like, it's really that simple these days. So I don't really ask my parents to buy me things anymore. However, that's not necessarily true. If it's like really expensive, then maybe I will. Like, I need to get my windshield replaced, and the quote that I was given was like over $600, which I sort of kind of can't afford at this juncture. But my parents said they would have been willing to pay for it. However, I told them to hold off on it. Actually, no, I didn't tell them to hold off on it. They told me to hold off on it, so never mind. That's another thing entirely. But usually I like to pay for things myself. But especially considering most of the expenses as it relates to my car are paid for by not me. Yeah. Anywho, I don't really ask for things I might ask for something for Christmas just so that they have something to get me. Okay, this is gonna sound very extremely domestic of me, but I have really been wanting a cordless vacuum. I think it would be so great to have a cordless vacuum. I just really want a cordless vacuum. They're kind of expensive. They're like $200. And I'm not the kind of person who would spend that much money on a single item. So that's why I haven't really bought it. And also, I just feel like I should probably save my money instead of spending it on a cordless vacuum when I have a perfectly good, perfectly fine functioning vacuum now. I think it would be nice to have a cordless vacuum. It really up the cleaning experience, really enhance it. So, I think I might ask for that for Christmas. But anyways, I did get a gift from my dad, which honestly I was so surprised because my dad didn't even tell me he was like getting me anything, or he didn't even ask me if I wanted anything too. But he got me like this little it's like it's a purse, but you can also wear it as like a backpack, and it's like black and like I think maybe faux leather or something like that. I don't know what the brand is because I didn't really pay attention to it. It's not like name brand or anything like that. But it would make a really nice travel bag if you're like going places and need like a really practical bag for like being out on the town somewhere. So that's what he got me. Honestly, okay, so as I have been saying, or maybe I only mentioned it once on the podcast, but I've been playing Animal Crossing a lot recently. And in the game, there's like a white, like drawstring bag, like backpack bag, and it's almost identical to that, but it's black. So if you had to conjure up an image in your mind of what it looks like, that's what it was. And my mom, knowing me so well, gave me some cold hard cash. And she's also spending time with me over this weekend, which I consider to be a gift because, we are geographically separated. And yeah, we don't really get to see each other that much because I don't travel home really very often. I haven't been home since at all in the year of our Lord 2023. Yeah, because I wasn't there for New Year's because I left after Christmas because I had to work at my lame job that I hated. And yeah, I haven't been home since 2022. So, but my mom's been here a few times because I have, a decent chunk of family here. So it's been nice to spend time with me mom. So yeah, I guess that'll conclude birthday talk. That was my birthday. Those were my birthday activities, my birthday festivities. I am no longer the birthday girl, but it will always be my birthday in my heart. That doesn't make sense. But yeah. So last week, was it last week? Maybe it was. When was August 25th? Because that's when it was. That wasn't last week. Because it's Sunday. So it would have been the week before last. So the week before last, I traveled down to New Orleans for what I think will be my final concert of the year, because my final concert that I'll be traveling for anyways. There's probably going to be some stuff here in Jackson that'll go to between now and whenever the next out of town concert for me will be. But went down to sunny and humid New Orleans to see Bless the Fall for the 10th anniversary of their album Hollow Bodies, which was a whole lot of fun. The drive down there was kind of brutal because I made the mistake of eating before I left, so I wouldn't have to worry about finding food in New Orleans. That would probably be really expensive. And so I got a little bit sleepy. On the drive down there. Had to stop at a sketchy gas station off a sketchy exit to get an energy drink, and it did absolutely nothing for me. So that was so much fun. But by then I was sort of halfway there. So I only had maybe an hour and a half to go. Maybe an hour and a half to go before I reach my destination. And so, I do like being in New Orleans. Sometimes I would rather, spend a more, I don't know, significant amount of time there to do stuff, because when I go places for concerts, I don't really leave my hotel like that. I just kind of, make it to the hotel maybe a couple of hours before the show, and then, maybe an hour before, go to the place to line up, have the concert ends at middle of the night, fall asleep, wake up, leave before checkout time, and that is the duration of my time spent in a city, aside from last year. Well, actually, no, two times, aside from last year, because before I left Memphis, I obviously had to go to the sixth largest pyramid in the world because, duh, it's a great experience. And then my only time going to Little Rock. I was supposed to go there two times. I only went there once. Only time going to Little Rock. We spent some time doing other stuff in the city. Because, I mean, it was more than just me that time, so I felt somewhat more comfortable being in an unfamiliar place, going unfamiliar places, because it wasn't just me. So, yeah, those are good times. However, the thing is, I don't want to like dilly dally, or I guess procrastinate getting on the road, because I really don't like driving long distances. It just sucks. I just don't like it. It's exhausting, even though, realistically you're just sitting there, but you have to be hyper aware of your surroundings, because if you aren't, you'll get in a car accident and perish. And also, I think I have a little bit of driving anxiety. Like, I am definitely more comfortable of a driver now than I was when I first started. But driving does still make me just a little bit nervous, and, I just don't like driving as well. It's just not a fun thing for me. I wish, that we had a more robust interstate train system aside from the one we have now. I could have taken the train from Jackson to New Orleans, because there is a direct route there, and it would have taken like an hour longer than driving, which I wouldn't have it wouldn't have really mattered to me, because I mean, I'm not driving, and also I'm on a train. Never been on a train before. Still never been on a train. So I think it would have been a more enjoyable experience. Flying for such a short distance to me seems, first of all, expensive, and also just, it's really not that far from here in New Orleans. It's like, what, a 3-hour drive? Which, I mean, I say not that far. It isn't that far, but for a plane, I feel like if you're taking a plane, you're like going across the country, or to like a different country. I mean, those are the only instances where I've been on a plane anyway. So, I don't get on planes to go to the neighboring state, because again, expensive, and also it just feels like overkill to me. I mean, could I have taken a bus? Yes, but was I going to take the Greyhound from here to New Orleans? I think not. Listen, there are people who rely on the bus system, the Greyhound bus system, to travel between states, but I don't know. There's something about being on a bus that's like, it's like being on a New York City subway at midnight, but for like 15 hours. Like, the vibes seem to be off. And like, I've never taken the Greyhound before. I hope I don't have to ever take a Greyhound. But it's just, I don't know, man. It feels weird, especially as a solo traveler. I do not recommend it. I don't recommend taking a Greyhound going anywhere. Like, if you're on a bus full of people that you know. So like, I was on a bus from Alabama to New York City, and that took roughly 12 hours. But of course, it was a school trip, and it was like me and all my classmates and people that I went to school with. So, it was kind of fine. But being on a bus full of strangers, I don't know, man. That's a bridge too far for me. So I just wish there were better options than driving for going great distances. But alas, there are not, because I live in the United States and our infrastructure sucks. Which begs the question, formerly Mayor Pete, like, what is he doing? What's he doing over there? Like, what is his job? Like, and another thing that I learned, actually, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard it during a meeting at work, so I'm going to assume it is because of the nature of my job. But I heard that Southwest is getting rid of their like cheapest, like ticket price, the wanna get away one, which I've only ever, aside from one time, in the few times that I've flown, I fly Southwest, and I was supposed to go to Miami for my dad's birthday earlier this year, and that ended up not happening for a variety of reasons. But I mean, now I guess the money that I have left over from canceling my flight, that's only good for like one ticket, not even a round trip. So that's a little disappointing. I really wish I could have got that money back, but given their stupid lame policies, I can't. It's just locked up in Southwest Airlines credits, I guess. And I'm never going to see that $340 again. And I paid for that myself. My dad didn't even pay for that. So I kind of want my money back. I could really use $340 right now. So, anyways, that's a little annoying. It's just things suck. But anyways, I haven't even talked about the actual concert itself. Okay, so I stand in line about an hour before the doors open because I just need to secure that barrier spot. As someone, again, I've said this many times and I will continue to say it, but as someone who is as short as me, being in a venue and having to deal with a phalanx of 6 foot tall men, it's not a good idea. Like when I saw Era in Birmingham last year, that was kind of what I was dealing with because I was like 2 layers of people back, and I just ended up barely seeing the show, which was a little annoying, but it is what it is. I gotta do what I gotta do to secure that barrier spot. And so far, for the last like few concerts that I've been to, I've had really good visuals because, let's see, this one I was at the barrier, the last one, which was also in New Orleans, I think. Was it? Yeah. Animals as Leaders concert. That was Juneteenth. That was it was the same venue as the House of Blues. So, and also there's barely anybody there. And I got there fairly early, so I was able to get the barrier spot to get the best seat in the house. The time before that, honestly, I'm confused because I can't even remember who I've seen this year. That's crazy. I'm gonna have to go through my email to actually see. I have a whole folder for all my concert tickets. So let's see, Bless the Fall, Animals as Leaders. I didn't see that one. Okay, so for when I went to see Bad Omens, I wasn't like trying to get up to the front for them because I just knew that was not gonna happen. But for the openers, Era and Invent Animate, who else was opening? Lord, I can't remember. But for the openers of Bad Omens, I did try my best to get as close to the front as possible, and that worked out for me. Who did I see before that? What's this? For August Burns Red, I was up in the mezzanine, so I got a really good view. Even though in that section of that venue, it's not like assigned seating in the upper level. You kind of have to just get there early to secure that barrier spot. Let me see. What is this? Okay, that's that. What is this? Is that the same thing? What is this? Oh, that was when I was supposed to see Under Oath. There's like there's a couple of things in here that I never actually got to go to. And then, okay, so that's technically last year. But for most of the concerts that I've been to this year, I've been able to get pretty good viewing area for it, which I know is like pretty rare. So, gotta count my blessings here. But I think I did pretty well getting there on time. I think I was like third in line as well, which is kind of crazy. I guess people weren't lining up down the block to see Bless the Fall, which is a little sad. They're not a tiki-talkie band, so they're not gonna be breaking any records, unfortunately. But I think I might have said this in my last podcast episode as well, but I kind of have to hand it to Bless the Fall because they were, to me anyways, kind of a big deal, especially with like their first couple of albums. Those, Witness and His Last Walk, that's a pretty big deal, I think, in the scene. So, and also the fact that for like a good hot second there, like we all collectively thought they had broken up and were like not a thing anymore. I was posting RIP Bless the Fall on twitter.com thinking they would never get back together. And, here they are back together, new single, new music soon, maybe, anniversary tour, and they sounded great too. They sounded pretty great. So that was a enjoyable experience. So what they did for this, for which I've seen, so for when I did see, why am I blank? The Devil Wears Prada, for, I don't know if it was an anniversary, but they were allegedly playing, their zombie EPs in full. But they didn't play them in order. So they didn't play Zombie in order and then Zombie 2 in order. They played songs from both of the albums in like a weird collection with like some other of their greatest hits and some new music. So it wasn't like it wasn't, those two EPs in sequence at all, which was a little confusing for me, I'm not gonna lie, but ended up being fine anyways. And then, I'm so mad about this. I'm not mad, I'm just sad. I'm just sad and I'm disappointed and I wish I lived somewhere else, but oh man, this one tears me up on the inside, man. I'm just, if you get to witness this in person, Bessie, I'm so happy for you. I hope you have a great time. But August Burns Red is going to be performing my favorite album by them, Rescue and Restore, in full, hopefully in order. I don't know when that tour started, but gosh, I remember when that was like announced, and I'm like, Rescue and Restore. I love that album. That's my favorite album. It holds a lot of significance for me. Only to see that they'll be coming nowhere near me, not even back to Little Rock. That was a punch to the gut, a punch to the kidneys, a spin kick in the pit to the kidneys. That broke my heart. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little heartbroken seeing that, because that I do really love that album, and I would have loved to see it played in full. I mean, they played songs from it, on their 20th anniversary tour, which I thought was really nice. They especially played Spirit Breaker, which is a great song. Always gives me goosebumps when I listen to it, like without fail. And so I was just torn up inside. But anyways, all that to say is that Blessed Fall performed Hollow Bodies, the album, back to front, plus some other like encore type songs, which, I mean, Hollow Bodies is only maybe 40 minutes long, maybe 30 minutes long, something like that. It's not a super long album. So, and I kind of cheated a little bit. I don't normally do this, but I looked up the set list prior to going, and I'm just looking up how long this album is. It's 46 minutes. So a decent amount, but not like an entire set length, So they played that in full. They played their new single, Wake the Dead. They played something from their most recent album that I didn't really recognize. And most importantly to me, because I had said right here on this very podcast, if they played anything from Witness, I would be a happy person. And they played 2.0 Into What's Left of Me, as well as Hey Baby, Here's That Song You Wanted, and I was living my life. Oh, that got me together. And that was at the very end too. It was like, it's great. And I got a lot of it on video, so if I ever want to revisit the moment, I can, even though the video is very shaky because I was, again, living my life, getting myself together. Yeah, that was great. Those, well, I guess technically 3. I'll say 2. Those 2 songs aren't like my favorite off that album. I guess they're the most popular, but honestly, anything after, if we're talking about Witness, anything after, where is the album? There we go. Anything after Hey Baby, Here's That Song You Wanted. Those are like my favorite tracks off the album, like Witness. The last one's left just fine. 590. We'll Sleep When We're Dead. Skinwalkers. You Deserve Nothing, and I Hope You Get Less. And Stay Still. That whole like second half of that album is so strong. Honestly, the whole album is full of no skips, but that second half of Witness is just chef's kiss. And it was really nice to hear those songs. I didn't really talk about the openers all that much. I kind of low-key didn't know who was opening until I got there, but I guess I'll just go through it. I'm gonna have to look up the set list again because I done forgot. Is this in there? Okay, so the first band that went on was Dragged Under. Let me see. I thought they were fine. That's it. I just thought they were fine. That's all I could really say. And then Kingdom of Giants came on, and I'm somewhat familiar with them. I don't know if I've ever heard any songs by them, but I feel like as they were playing, I heard some that I recognized. So it must have like come up on a Spotify radio at some point recently for me to recognize it. But I really like their energy. That was really great. Caskets. These guys are from the UK, Leeds. That's what he said. He's from Leeds. Couldn't point that out on a map, but I am an American and geography is not our strong suit. It's in the UK though. I thought they were great. They sounded great. Honestly, reminded me a little bit of Issues with less like unclean vocals, which, I mean, an Issues comparison can either be really insulting or like just fine. That depends on your opinion of issues. I'm gonna say less hip hop influence, but similar vocals and similar, maybe not songwriting, but I'll say the vocals are similar. The frontman of Caskets, he got a good voice. I'll say that. And so there were about 3 openers. And the first one was just okay. The next 2 were amazing, and then Bless the Fall went on, and we all had a great time. I will say this, it wasn't particularly hot in New Orleans. In fact, it was hotter here when I left than it was when I actually got to New Orleans. It might have been more humid, but I mean they're literally by the water, so what can you expect? It's gonna be hot. It's gonna be humid. But it was only about 95 degrees when we got down there, which honestly it felt. I'm not gonna lie, it did not feel good outside. It was it was unbearably humid. But the inside of the venue was, I think, adequately, you know, air conditioned. So this is the House of Blues in New Orleans that I'm talking about. When I was there the first time to see Animals as Leaders, it was basically refrigerated. It was cold. Like I was shivering. Like I was like, man, they got the AC on in here. And then when I went the second time, this past time, it wasn't like I wasn't like sweating, but I wasn't also shivering. It was just fine to me anyways. And also like I was kind of used to, especially last year. I don't know what it was about the places that I went last year. Like collectively all of their ACs were like broken, but it was so hot. At the venues that I went to last year, like I was buckets of sweat, like sweating so much, sweating all of the liquids out of my body. Like it was kind of crazy. But the House of Blues was not experiencing that. However, one person like fell out. They didn't like pass out or anything like that. They just kind of like they didn't collapse either. Just kind of, I don't know. The only way I could describe is that they fell out. Really unfortunate. They had to like his pal had to like get him and they had to leave, and I don't think I saw them for like the rest of the show. So that was definitely probably not a pleasant experience. And then I think the security was very, I don't know, vigilant about the moshing going on, because there was a lot of moshing going on. Duh, this is a metal show. And there's also a decent amount of crowd surfing, and I feel like, being that I was up at the barrier, I was just watching like all the security people just like eyeing the crowd, being like trying to, I don't know, I guess make sure it's not getting too intense in the pit. But I will say this. I think, we as a community of metalheads can self-regulate pretty well. Like this isn't, oh gosh, I don't want to go here, but this isn't, a rap concert where apparently people mosh at rap shows. I didn't know this was a thing, but apparently it is. But, hip hop heads don't exactly have the same decorum as metalheads do when it comes to moshing, in that it's going to be intense, but you're not going to suffer serious injury. Like if you fall in the pit, someone will pick you up. If it's too much for you, you'll be able to like get out. So like there have definitely been a lot of really bad incidents at rap shows where there have been pits of some sort and people have gotten very injured, or in a couple of occasions have died. And in this case, I saw one girl kind of getting led out. Maybe she got hit or something like that. I don't know, but I don't think it wasn't really that much incident. If it is your first time moshing, like it might be a little bit intense, but like it's part of the reason why you won't see me in a pit, like because I already know I probably can't handle it. So, I know to stay away. And I also know what goes on in the pit. You might catch an elbow, you might catch a heel, you might not catch a body, like kill someone, but you might get landed on by a big 6 foot tall man going and fighting invisible ninjas in the pit. And I know I'm not ready for that, so I don't engage in it. But it's always fun to watch, though. I'll say that. Being on the edge of a pit, not like the direct edge where I can like get ran into, but being on the edge of a pit, always a great time. Not being in it, being on the edge of glory, one might even say. I love watching a pit. I love watching a good circle pit. I love watching a good wall of death. I love watching people just flailing, basically whacking, but like sort of different. It's always a good time. And, it's always a good time at these shows. I had a great time. I, sang along to some of my favorite songs because I will say, you know, even going as far back as like high school or something like that, Hollow Bodies, the song, was like one of my favorite songs. Anytime it would come on, crank it way up. The picture of the person and it's like zoomed in and they're cranking it up and the kid is like listening and like, yelling. That's me anytime Hollow Bodies comes on. And that was me when they performed Hollow Bodies the song. It truly is one of my favorite songs. It instant mood, not regulator, but instant mood raiser. Like just it's a great song. I love that song, and it's a great album as well. I may not love it as much as I do Witness, which I guess I missed the mark for a 10-year anniversary Witness tour, which I don't even know if they did one. However, if they would have done one, it would have been in 2019, and this was back when I was still in college. Broke Tina, wouldn't have had the money to go to a concert anyways. So, now that I do have the resources, however, I'm not gonna lie. This is definitely gonna be my last concert. Not because there aren't any more concerts, but because my coins aren't stacking like they need to be. So I just need to like chill for a second on the going places. It's gonna be it for me until like next year. My coins need to stack up a little bit more if I'm gonna be going places. So, or maybe I just need to travel with other people so that the cost is shared a little bit more. But yeah, I had a great time, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Didn't get a guitar pick. I really wanted to get a guitar pick. People were getting guitar picks. I was not one of those people. I would have liked a guitar pick because this wasn't on my birthday, but my favorite birthday gift ever, even though it probably was an unintentional one, is getting a guitar pick from Jeremy from The Devil Wears Prada. It felt very special, That was nice. I still have it. It's still on my dresser. It's still a plain yellow guitar pick, not even like branded or anything like that. Just like, a random guitar pick brand, I guess. But that was really nice. That I will hold on to that in my heart. And I know one of these days I'm gonna like move out of this apartment. I'm gonna have to put that guitar pick like in a safe or something just so that I don't lose it, so I can hold on to that, because that was really special. What can I say? It was really special. So yeah, that was really nice. I did say I was bursting at the seams with topics, but the main two topics that I had were my birthday and going to see Blessed Fall. But I will say this, to move a little bit away from things that are exclusively about me, there are some interesting things. I'll say there are interesting things going on YouTube.com about this whole 8 passengers thing, because I've been following this, ever since it kind of dropped that the crazy mom, what's her name? Ruby Frank or Frankie? I keep hearing Frank and Frankie when it comes to how to pronounce her last name. But Ruby, the mom from 8 Passengers, got arrested for child abuse. And it's crazy. Not just her, but her little co-host of this like YouTube channel that she had after 8 Passengers, called Connections or Moms of Truth or something like that. Her name was Jody Hildebrandt, and she got arrested as well because it happened. Okay, so the details are a little bit nebulous, and honestly, by the time this video comes out, there'll probably be a whole lot more details, or this podcast episode comes out, there'll probably be way more details, so I guess I can only really talk about it surface level because I don't really know everything right now. But essentially, a kid escaped from Jody Hildebrandt's house with like wounds and duct tape on their arms and legs, and they were emaciated, and now both Jody and Ruby have been charged with like 6 counts of child abuse, which is crazy because aside from like maybe Daddy of 5 and that one other like smaller but still equally as weird family channel, oh man, I was literally just watching like a iceberg of YouTube controversies, and that was on there, and I genuinely cannot remember. The 5 Awesome Kids or something like that. But there's been a number of like smaller family channels, less publicized family channels, I will say, that I have had the adults behind them get arrested for serious crimes against the children. But I will say, aside from like the Daddy of Five thing, because I feel like, because I was regularly watching Philip DeFranco at the time, I heard about it a lot more. And then, the commentary YouTubers kind of got their claws on Eight Passengers, and that's how I heard a lot about that. But I don't know, the Eight Passengers one feels a little different to me because it was, I mean, all of them were always kind of like not great, because family channels at all are just like kind of terrible. Not gonna lie, they're not the best content. They kind of suck. They kind of all suck. But the Eight Passengers one was a little bit different because there was a little religious twist, I think. Actually, let me not say that, because I don't even know if that was the case or not. There might have been some undertones there. But there's definitely, a whole lot of that underpinning a lot of what was going on in the channel. And, the one about talking about her sending her son off to a wilderness camp for playing a prank on the younger brother, which I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people were kind of downplaying the severity of the prank, but for some reason, I think we, as like a society and a culture, brush off a lot of like, I'm gonna call it sibling violence because it feels like violence to me, but we are really okay with that for some reason. Like, it just is treated as normal. I don't think it should be. Like, listen, is, telling your younger brother that you're going to Disneyland and making him pack a suitcase at like 3 a.m. tantamount to like breaking their nose? No. But to me, it still feels like straight up bullying, especially when you're like a whole teenager doing this to like someone who's, I don't know, less than 13 or less than 10 years old. So I don't know, it felt really messed up to me. But still, the answer to that was not sending the kid off to a wilderness camp and like taking their bed away. There were other options that could have been explored. But there's a lot of rhetoric within really uber religious communities, and not even just Christianity, but most of them, that really, how can I put this, really value parents having total control over their children and basically treating children like second-class citizens, which I don't think is a good thing. Big surprise there. But I don't know, it just takes it to the extreme. Calling, I mean, this is, of course, in the more extreme veil, but also I think what the Eight Passengers mom was doing and was telling other parents to do was like really extreme. But there is this book called To Train Up a Child by the Pearls. It's a husband and wife duo, and I can't remember their first names, but essentially it, advocates for spanking infants, like literal babies, like arm babies that can't comprehend. Oh, I just peeked there a little bit. Sorry about that. Can't comprehend what's going on, really. Blanket training, which is, putting a kid on a blanket and putting toys like outside of a blanket, and if they try to reach for the toy, you basically smack them, which again is a lot for literal babies who can't even walk. I mean, not even saying that if they can walk, it's like fine, but honestly, I think any kind of physical punishment against your children is like way messed up. I was never, growing up, I was never spanked or anything like that. So, but I do know people who were, and let me tell you, they did not end up fine. They did not end up fine. You were not spanked and turned out okay. So, because you're willing to do that to your own children, so clearly you're not okay. But yeah, a lot of crazy practices. There was a clip that I saw recently from I think it was, so I don't know what's going on with the mom from Eight Passengers, Ruby, but she's had like a few like ventures at this point, because there's been Eight Passengers, there's Connections, there's Moms of Truth, and I think there's like another thing as well. Again, I don't have all the details, but essentially a mom had like submitted a question for Ruby to help her out, being like, hey, my daughter, she has an eating disorder and she didn't tell me, like, where did I go wrong? Like, how did I lose my daughter's trust like that? Which, is I think a valid concern to have, that if your kid is hiding something so severe from you, you might want to wonder like where you went wrong. But essentially would be stuff like, no, you didn't get wrong. Your daughter was deceitful and a liar and all this crazy stuff about a little kid with an eating disorder. So, the fact that these people got arrested for pretty serious child abuse is not surprising. I'm gonna say it's not surprising because, if you're not super familiar with 8 Passengers, I'm doing a horrible job of, explaining the situation. So all I can say is like there are Jay Aubrey made a video about it some time ago actually, kind of going over all of their transgressions. And I will say, it used to be a husband and wife. So it was Ruby and her husband, whose name I literally can't remember. But as far as I know, the husband, because he's been separated from his wife for some time now, even though he was totally complicit in all the stuff that was going on, he hasn't been arrested because he likely just, wasn't really involved with his kids anymore. And also, another thing to point out is that the kids have spoken out about this. There's the oldest daughter, again, whose name I can't remember. I just can't remember names. I can't keep any names upstairs. But the daughter, before all this has happened, has spoken out against her mom. The son, I don't know if the son is like an adult yet or not, but I would imagine he would be, because I feel like when the getting sent off to a wilderness camp thing happened, he was like 16 or 17, maybe, and that was a few years ago. But maybe he just wants to stay out of the public eye after being foisted into it unwillingly by his parents, which, understandable. And then, all of this just makes me remember the, was it Vice? Was that Vice? I think it was Vice. Was it? Yes, it was Vice. Okay, so Vice made a documentary on the whole John and Kate plus 8 situation, which I thought was really nicely done. And two of the sextuplets spoke out about, what it was like to be on the show, and John as well, which honestly, I wasn't super old when the John and Kate plus 8 thing like fell apart. I might have still been in elementary school, but even back then, I remember that John, the husband, was like painted to be the villain by like everybody. And I remember even me being like, oh man, this is a bad guy, when, even though he is on some level complicit, because, he is the one who agreed to having his family shown on television for God knows how long, probably over a decade, something like that. A long time. We'll say a long time. I am willing to be a little bit more sympathetic to him, just hearing his side of the story. He was painted to be the villain, even though maybe that wasn't 100% warranted. Like, did he do some bad things? Those bad things being putting his kids on television for the world to see. I would say so, yes, but I think he might be a little bit more regretful and remorseful for it versus his wife, who doesn't seem to want to leave the limelight. And it's got me thinking, like, how many more times is stuff like this gonna happen? Because, like, John and Kate plus 8 were basically the original YouTube family vloggers, except they had like a whole television show on TLC. But like, how many other like family channels, like OG family channels, are there where the kids are gonna grow up and they're gonna start speaking out about this? And like, how far is this gonna go? How much, are we gonna learn about these people behind the scenes? Honestly, it's a little messed up for me to say, because that would imply that I am waiting on the downfall of a family. But those Ace family kids, I gotta know what's what's it like to be them. And I can't imagine that when they grow up, they're gonna, I just think that, whenever the Ace family kids come of age, they're gonna have a lot to say. I'll say that much. They're gonna have a lot to say. Will they be allowed to say it? I don't know. But, man. And I mean, I guess, I don't even know, like, are there really any truly benign family channels? That reminds me of another online thing going on right now. So the Meal She Eats couples, or couple, it's just one couple. I'm gonna give a little background on this. I know a little bit more about it than the 8 passengers thing, because the 8 passengers thing just happened. But the meal she eats couple, I remember seeing these two on Twitter being like, oh, well, I guess it originated on TikTok, but I'm not on TikTok, so I saw it on Twitter. They're like, oh, this woman has PCOS, and her husband lovingly home cooks her meals to regulate her hormones, and now they have a baby, which is like, that is a really nice story. It is a really nice story. A woman overcoming PCOS to be able to conceive a child with the help of her husband. That is objectively a really nice story. Even my cold-hearted self was like, oh man, that's actually kind of nice, you know? And so, honestly, I didn't really think too much into it, because it's like, oh, she has PCOS and having trouble conceiving, and her husband's helping out any way they can, or any way he can. And, I've read far too much about bum do-nothing husbands that seeing one that is actually, trying to help his wife is like a breath of fresh air. Because, I don't know, maybe I'm just inundated with, like, too many bad husband stories, but it feels nice. It feels like a nice change of pace to me. A man who's actually willing to do things. Round of applause, because the bar's on the floor. Honestly, it kind of is. But apparently people have been kind of looking into it, and now it's come out that the husband from Meal She Eats was a coach at her high school, which is strange. I'll say that. People are trying to stand up for them and say that, oh, it was a big high school. He wasn't actually her teacher. But it's still the fact that she was a student and he was a teacher at the time. It's weird. It rubs me the wrong way. And I think there might be like a 8 or 9 year age gap, because he was like a fairly young coach of some sport, who knows, at her school while she was like, a high schooler. And I think they started dating like right after she graduated, which is always a little sus-tina if I do say so myself. So they haven't really said a whole lot about it, the Meal She Eats couple, but people, first of all, I have to say, I really I mean, trolling is trolling, but the brand of trolling that goes on TikTok, because what people are doing is like they're going under their TikToks and being like, oh, this is so cute, you guys should make a story time on how you met, because they haven't said anything to like set the record straight about how exactly they came to know each other and date and get married. So I don't know, just that brand of like comments, it's honestly so funny to me. It's just really funny. But as far as I know, they haven't said anything. Again, by the time this comes out in like, actually no, not a week, a few days. I don't know, something else could come out, but I think it's really weird to go from, it's honestly a milkshake duck situation. It literally is a milkshake duck situation. You go from this wholesome man caring for his wife and making her food so that she can create life, going from that to maybe he groomed her, who knows, is kind of a big leap, kind of emotional, tonal whiplash, It's yeah. And then of course, these two, now that they do have a baby, they are the typical family TikToker people, which like don't put your kid on the internet. Like, come on, how hard is it? How hard is it to not put your kid on the internet? Which, I mean, I guess if your kid is your bread and butter, like their entire existence is thanks to the fact that, it was publicized how, they overcame the struggle to conceive, which I'm not trying to downplay her having PCOS or even him doing that for her, but, that is the reason they're popular. So I could see, well, okay, not that I think it's okay, but I could see why they would continue to put their kid on the internet, because like, I made her meals so that she can have this kid. Now all of you get to see the fruits, literally the fruits of our labor. So, it's still kind of scummy, but I get it. Like, I get it. So, and also, I mean, who knows? Maybe it did work, but I'm beginning to question the veracity of a person's PCOS being not, I mean, obviously it wasn't cured, because I don't think that's even something you can cure, but something, made better by food. Does food have an impact on your hormones? Maybe. I don't know a lot about the situation or the subject, so probably. And maybe. Who knows? But honestly, when I first came across like the meal she eats couple, I thought the guy was like a chef or something, and that's how, or a nutritionist or a dietitian or something like that. So that's how he knew what food to make her to lessen the effects of her PCOS so that she could conceive. But I don't know if that's the case. Who knows? It's all very nebulous. Don't you love getting secondhand information from a person who doesn't know the full situation? That's what we're getting here at the Runnin My Mouth podcast. Oh man. Well, on that note, it's been a wonderful couple of weeks. It's been a wonderful Labor Day weekend. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I sure did enjoy making it. Thank you for allowing me to run my mouth. This has been the 9th, because I know this time, the 9th episode of the Running My Mouth podcast. Follow me on Twitter. I'm gonna keep calling it Twitter. I don't care that it's called X. X, who is that? Who? I'm sorry, what? Oh, no, you mean Twitter? Yeah. Follow me on Twitter. For as long as it's still standing. Don't care if it's X. Follow me on Twitter. Because if you're not following me on Twitter, you're only getting half the story. And yeah, that'll be it for me. I didn't have any cake or ice cream yesterday on my birthday, but I'm gonna have some now because I realized that, what's a birthday without cake and ice cream? You feel me? So, off I go.